Hello, everyone. Welcome to our edition of the Ohio Guys here. My name is Christian Ocampo, and today I'm joined by another amazing guest here today. We have Kat Thomas here. Hi, Kat.
Hi, Hi, Christian. I'm so
Hi.
happy to be here today.
Yeah, I'm very glad to finally have you here. It's been a while making this the time and
hmm
scheduling to get this interview. So I'm
Yeah.
very excited to have you here, talk about all these amazing shows, and kind of covering this as your first interview ever. So I'm excited to get the ball rolling here.
I'm excited too. I remember like the first time when you had emailed or found I think I had a Twitter back whenever I started, but long time ago you'd reached out to me and I was like, what? Nobody wants to interview me. What? I haven't done anything. So I'm really glad that we like finally made this happen.
Yeah, I'm happy to finally make the arrangements. So yeah, I'm happy to ask away on these amazing titles you got to be part of.
Yeah.
So so to kind of kick things out, why don't you tell us what is it like working in the industry today?
Well, what I'll say, especially I like before COVID and everything, I was a full-time actor. And throughout the past 2 years, um, acting gigs and everything, it's kind of been up in the air. I've done a few projects here and there. But like honestly, like voice acting has been my most consistent artistic kind of pursuit. I've been able to kind of work with them more consistently than I have any other like part of my acting. Like I have a job that I use to pay the bills and everything, but as like difficult as it can be to get into the industry, and as like it's definitely not the job that I used to pay my bills, but it's been the most consistent work that I've had. So like I've been really thankful for it in the last couple of years. Right now it's like to be a voice actor right now, I've personally been thankful for it. Because I get to act, and I haven't really gotten to do that as consistently as I'd like to the last couple of years. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's just great to always see newer faces in the voiceover scene. You, even though you're still new, you still got to be part of these top name titles, ranging from shows that have won awards, anime awards here and there, and some that have been put on national television. So yeah, it's just for you. It's it's gotta be a surreal experience just knowing like just the caliber of shows that come your way.
Yeah, it's wild sometimes. I'm like, "What? Oh, that showed up on a Adult Swim? Wow, okay, cool." It feels I don't know, I grew up in a small town. I live in Houston, but like I'm still kind of like a small town girl at heart. So it's definitely like I'm always just grateful, I guess, whenever I get those opportunities.
No, it's I'm pretty sure it's a wow experience, just like you said, coming from a small town and then just seeing your work just be broadcast nationally. It's it's definitely quite the experience just knowing that. So to cover on some of the shows and your time working in the industry as again used to be newer on your name, what is your favorite show that you got to work on in your experience?
Oh, I should have known that this was gonna be one of the first questions. Ah, um, that one's tough because each one is like fun and awesome for its own reasons. Um, and we'll probably talk about a lot of I think the one that like has its own little place nestled in my heart. I have mixed feelings about like my personal performance in it and how everything went for like how I did, but Girls Last Tour is probably like always kind of got this really special place in my heart. It's kind of a cult favorite where not everyone knows about it. But everyone who knows about it has very strong opinions about it. But it's a really well done show, and like my personal experience with it was really great. Like it was my first big part. And so and like the team took a chance on bringing me in for this like very big role for how new I was. And so like there were a lot of reasons as to why that show is precious to me, both in how it's just a solid show by itself, and then um like my own personal experience with it. But every show that I do kind of for different reasons, like brings something new to my life and to the table that I just have fun getting to like express myself in different ways.
Yeah, it's a show that I adored from reasons, just its genre and just its storytelling. And
Mhm.
we'll talk more on it as we get to it, but yeah, it is still a underrated show. It's still a show that I think more people should check out.
Mhm. I agree.
So here's your personal favorite that you got to express when it came out. And this one, as we said before we spoke to before the interview, this one is almost got that friendship bondness similar to Thelma and Louise. And this show
Mhm.
is Mysteria Friends. What was like working on that show?
It was like not my first big role. It was kind of one of my, it felt like it came at a time in my like beginning VO career, and it just came at the right time. I was starting to open up a little bit more vocally. I wasn't just playing like, I think before I was still kind of like, okay, this is the slot I fit in. This is the kind of emotional range I have, and this is what I'm going to do. But with Mysteria Friends, because it was like it, I mean, a lot of anime are like female based. A lot of them, there's just a lot of women, and I love that. But Mysteria Friends was like, Anne was this princess, but she was also really goofy. And it was like this role that like allowed me to both be comfortable and play in my range that I'm usually in. Like she fits my voice in a way that was like, I can live in this space comfortably. But she also does a lot of goofy things, and like the way she's animated and the way like her face does different things and she does silly things, but she also does magical things, and she's vulnerable and she's goofy and she's extroverted but she's shy, and like it she just was all over the place, that in a way that I hadn't really gotten to experiment with before. And so it was kind of like nice for this young cat to come in and play this goofy character who could also be a good comfortable spot for her to start with, but also go to all of these fun different places. So that spot also holds like a nice place in my heart, because it's a sweet show on top of it. Avery was amazing. It was really cool to work off of her voice, because she's just solid and was solid to begin with. And I came in like this weird little, "Bleh, I'm all over the place, girl." And so it was nice. It was really cool to like, and Kyle was is just a hoot to work with, and it was always fun. Every time came into the studio to work, it was just a lot of fun. So I loved that one.
Yeah, I remember when this hit in High Dive a couple years back. And again, just going back to that female companionship aspect, it was
Mhm.
just great seeing these two high school girls. They go into this fancy Royal Academy. They both come from these regal backgrounds. And just seeing that friendship just blossom and just build up. Each new episode was a different chapter. Just seeing how they
Mhm.
interact and their surroundings, and especially the animation, how it
Yeah.
complemented the way they got to carry on their friendship, whether it be in the library, whether it be in the school courtyard, or even in the beach where you see this beautiful, vibrant colors,
Yeah.
almost reflecting their their emotions, just that happiness, that genuine care for each other. So I
Yeah.
think everything about it just matched up nicely with just how these characters were interacting and how they went about their day-to-day lives.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. Like it's very like it's explained as slice of life. It's just a very precious show. It was done in a way it's like it wasn't a mundane slice of life. It was like, no, these are the special moments, even though it's every day, it's special. And you're exactly right. The animation and every part of the production side of it supports that fully. And it was fun. Like that was one of the ones that I really enjoyed just watching the episodes. I don't do that often. Like I watch as much as I can to get some like research done and understand the storyline. But that one I found myself like just watching instead of like trying to study it. I was just like just watching it.
Yeah, it's again amazing show, and I'm pretty sure any female audiences that are watching this show appreciate it. They appreciate the companionship. They can probably relate to these characters with their best buddy that they can see themselves as both your character and Avery's character, because
Mhm.
you know it is in a way almost a reflection on real life. Just when you have that one friend, the one you would be your Thelma or your Louise, you know that's
Yeah.
that, how that bond with together, you know, just
Hmm.
grows stronger each and every day.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, great show, great show for everyone to check out if they haven't. So I highly recommend it. And to continue on that path of girls taking over the whole show. And here's one that you really mentioned, and this one is Girls Last Tour. What was I working on that one?
Yes. Oh, that was like something I'd never really like you said, it was very early on. It was one of my first big roles. It felt like they kind of took like a okay, we're gonna bring in this new kid. And I was like, ah, great, cool, okay. um and it was again like that one was like a show I've never worked on before because of the structure of the show. It was me and Juliet almost the whole time. Like 90% of the show was just the two of us. We'd have in a couple of different like characters every once in a while, and it was always the weirdest thing because I got so used to just recording with this one character, or like by myself. And then like whenever someone else's voice would pop in, I'd be like, oh my gosh, no one else is in this. It's so weird to hear someone. Um, and like that was just a really it felt like an experimental kind of time where like the character itself, like she's very subdued, she's a little bit younger, but we didn't want me to like sound like I was trying to put on a young voice. But she was also just like finding ways to just kind of like keep it down and keep it not sentimental or mushy. And like because there are times whenever you do shows like that where it can almost feel too precious and too like foreboding and sad, and then it's like bleh, nobody wants to watch that. And that show's already got that like kind of serious tone to it that like if we brought it down too much it would be a little gross, but if you brought it up too high it wouldn't match. So it was always this constant kind of like thankfully Shannon was just had a really good ear to it. Anytime I would get too up and down with my intonation, he'd be like, okay, bring it down. But it or anytime I get too low, he'd be like, okay, let's bring it up a little. Like he was listening the whole time. And so in that like it was a really cool experience for me and a director to like really be in tune and try to listen to the character, but also be really in tune with my partner, with Juliet, who played Yuri, and like just try to match her in a way that was like we're opposites because it's just the two of us and we have to not match each other. We have to be on different levels the whole time. It was just a really interesting experience. Like I think about it and I'm like, knowing what I know now, I wish I could do it again because I was a baby. But I'm still really proud of it. Like it definitely made me who I am today in a weird kind of way. Like it was just a show, but like I just appreciate it. I'm so grateful for it and I love it.
This one was a really special show, just because it basically was a post-apocalyptic world where you had these two girls that were mostly one of the few humans left on Earth. And
Mhm.
yes, when the characters did show up, there was a bit like a semblance that hey, there's still humanity left, even though it's fewer. There's still people around that trying to do things in their daily lives, trying to make what they can with the world that they're living in. And with your characters, both cute little girls that have this little tank that they're driving around. It that itself is just cute. Just seeing them like pioneer through this forsaken world that they're in, and I guess it's like in a way its own little symbol, its own beacon of hope that if these girls can make it through, then humanity can make it through. So I
Mhm.
think that's like the underlying symbolism between these two. And of course, your character and Juliet's character both have different personalities. Juliet's
Mhm.
character is very aloof, very goofy, dim-witted at times, and then yours is like more mature, more serious, more down to earth. Trying
Mhm.
to keep them both together and keep them focused because she's always trying to correct Julia's character, like, okay, fun time's over. We need to get back on track. So it's a
Yeah.
good old chemistry there.
It was so fun. Like it was really fun to find the moments for comedy and for like, okay, now I'm not just monologuing about how like, because there were a lot of like very heady monologues about life and there was a lot of philosophy in there. And so sometimes I'd be doing those and watching this beautiful screen and then she'd throw a dig at Yuri and it was just like but I don't know. It was a nice mix where you'd be going off into some sort of philosophical like bleh, and then she tells her to like eat the tank or something and it's just it's really nice how it balances well between humor and like this kind of serious examination of like life and meaning and life after humanity and yeah. Yeah, it was just that was another one that I really enjoyed watching. I watched the Japanese version before as much as I could. Like I'd at least try to watch several episodes before anything I had to record. So I was just aware of where I was going, what was going to be recorded that day. And I just watched it. Like I just enjoyed watching the show.
And again, a show that could give the audience mixed feelings, mixed reactions, just by the nature of the show, just by its genre and what it tries to do with storytelling. Although it got nominated for awards, won maybe like a few awards, but still underrated just for what it is and
Mhm.
what Girls Last Tour tried to be. So, I'm still hoping for others who still haven't seen it will give it a chance, give it a shot, and just
Yeah.
experience what the show is all about.
Yeah. I haven't rewatched it since like everything's happened in the last 2 years. I'm interested to see what it would be like to rewatch after the panorama, the pandemic. Um, that would be interesting. I haven't sat down to rewatch it since then. It's almost a little too heavy. But I think it would be a nice like set of like perspective right now. Something to listen to in the world we live in right now.
Oh, definitely. You can pull some pieces of real life events and then place it in this show
Yeah.
just by its presentation of
Hmm.
what our world looks like in the bleakest moments of time. And I think it captured nicely. And again, more of a subtle tone rather than going all the way to 10, where it could be the most bleakest of bleakest. So
Yeah.
I'm glad it didn't go that far.
Me too. They chose their moments really well on when to kind of like pull at the heartstrings a little, but it again, it was a balance. It was like it could be a little nihilistic at points, but the show never felt like it was without hope. It never felt like it was just this hopeless kind of world, which I think it could have easily gone to. Um, again, balance. It was a It's just good. You gotta watch it. Everyone's gotta watch
Yeah, well said.
it.
All right, so here's another show that still going on strong, just a great fan following. This show, and this is gonna be a mouthful. What was it like working on Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in the Dungeon season 3?
Yep. I don't even, what do I call? I don't think I think I called it dungeon. I don't think I called it by the whole name. Um, uh, that was a fun one. Do you have any questions about that one, or do you just want me to talk about it? Because I can probably talk about anything you ask me about.
Let's just hear your thoughts about your character, about the whole show, everything you can throw at us.
Cool. I was that was one of the shows. Let's see. I had recorded something for it was she comes off Vina comes on screen as an Easter egg at the end of one season, and then like I recorded that just as like, yeah, you might show up later, we'll see. And then months later it's like, okay, now you've got this big part, and I'm like, oh, okay. um and I'd done my research. I had tried to like kind of see, but it was like, we don't know if they're going to pick up the next season, we'll see, whatever. So it was just kind of this nice surprise of like, okay, cool. And then, oh my gosh, what a cool character and what a cool plot. And I went through and watched all of season 2 gearing up, and then I watched whatever of season 3 I could as it came out. And like that was a different point in my anime career as well. So like I wasn't back in Girls Lost Tourland. I'd done SNAFU, and so I was a lot more confident in myself and as an actor. And so it was like, that was just a fun one. It was like, I felt confident. I was ready to do this really cool part that I was just stoked about. Like, who doesn't want to play a cute little blue dragon girl? And again, like I enjoy Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? Like I it's a good show. And then that season was really well written. Like that one, there were different, I guess there's different flavors of feeling for each show. And this one for me was just excitement. Like I was just stoked to do it. I was just super happy to like get in on this team that had already been established, and everyone had liked the shows a lot. So it was just kind of cool to like jump in on this thing for a minute and like have my part to play. And play like and Vina is just, she's adorable. She is emotional, but like has a good range. And I had a lot of fun playing with like her character and how she grasps language and how she grasps like culture and interacting with people. And then towards the end, there's a whole lot of dramatic stuff that goes on, not to give it away for anyone who hasn't seen it, but like I really got to stretch my skills and be able to go really far emotional places that like you just don't get to do on a normal basis. And so again, I was just like super happy to do that one. I was super excited all the time.
It was a huge surprise when we were finally going to get season 3 and how fast we got it. And of course, seeing the cast this, because every time we got the new season, new characters would come in, you know, from season 1, season 2, now season 3, and then of course the movie as well. So it was great to kind of see you join the familia in
Yeah.
in the show.
It was literally join the familia. I was like, ah. Yep.
So it was great to see the plot, how different it was from the other seasons, where it was going, because it was a different concept. It was a whole different storytelling that they were focusing in this chapter / season, because yours is really important. You know, your character's a blue dragon girl, and there are other monsters out there similar to her. So I think I think it's just amazing just seeing the dynamic of what this season was trying to do in terms of the way the characters would interact in this whole new concept. So it really had the audience, on their toes, gripping their chair handles because it was that intense, especially getting
Yeah.
towards the end because that's how fast the needle moved from 5 to 8 and then towards 10.
Yeah. Um, exactly like you said, it was really fun to play. Like they brought in all the other monsters, and it was really cool to kind of be this character that was the bringer of this massive change and like conflict to the plot. Like it was really cool to bring in the drama. um and like it was, yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, just this show, and I like to people like to call it Danmachi for short.
Yep. Hmm.
So I'm hoping to keep seeing as many episodes. I mean, as many new seasons. I think they said there will be a season 4 on its way. So hopefully we'll get it sometime either this year, next year, or whenever, because there's just so much ground, so much of this world that we, the audience, can explore with each new season.
Hmm.
Uh, Again, it's just so much there's to peel back for us to explore. I think that's one of the beauties that Damachi brings to the audience. Just this whole massive world, just many different parts that we're still trying to learn about and trying to take in as each new season unfolds. So I'm hoping we'll get more Damachi in the near future.
Definitely. Like so many secrets and mysteries that they have in the plot. And also just so many really awesome characters. Like they literally have the branch off series, and they have the movies and the OVAs, and like there's just so many chances to really delve into any aspect of the story. I would be interested. It's almost like a Dungeons and Dragons game. Like you can have all of these little offshoots and different characters that you follow for different points, because there's just that much. And they did a really good job with like creating this cool world that has so many possibilities. And like it's never what you think it is. It's always going to be a little bit different, and there's always going to be something to kind of be a plot twist to throw in there, and it's cool. That's a really that show has some really great storytelling, in the sense that it's got places it's going to go. I think Girls Last Tour, it had like a second part of the series, but it was just a much smaller kind of condensed world, and that's what they had to explore, and like it was beautiful. But like with Danmachi, there's just so many places they could go. I think it's really cool how it's just so open-ended to an extent, and you could keep going following certain characters or following the main plot line. There's just there's a lot of real estate to work with.
Yeah, and again, I'm hoping we'll keep getting more because this show is just special. It's had a great run in what since 2016, so 6 years since
Mm,
season 1 dropped. I think it has really accumulated a great fan base. It has established itself just by how many new seasons it offers us, the fans, with its stories. Like you said, so much secrets to explore,
yeah,
so many different layers that can be peeled back and just dive in deep. So we'll see how this year shapes up and how next year shapes up if we are going to get our season 4 in sometime soon.
yeah.
All right. So kind of making transition from kind of the fantasy stuff now more to the real life stuff. This show, a really special one for different reasons. And the one we're going to talk about is Just Because. What was like working on that show?
Oh my gosh, that's a throwback. um Gosh, that goes all the way back. That was, again, like it was That was early on for me. That was fairly early on, but I was starting to I've been talking a lot about, I guess, like where I was, the context for me as an actor, as a young voice actor, while the shows were going on. And like I was fairly early on for that one. One of my first like, oh, I'm getting to know the people. I'm getting to like have a little bit of repartee with the directors and the engineers around, and I'm like just getting more comfortable with working and working with my voice. And so that one was let's see, sliding into the character that was again like a bit more in my comfort zone. Yeah, that one, oh, that you caught me off guard with that one. That one was good. Um, yeah, that one was just kind of a it wasn't easy because I don't think any acting like role or any voice acting role is like just easy. Like everything comes naturally. Like you have to work on it. You have to look at it and make choices. But that one was one of those that like I felt like, okay, this character makes sense to me. It's fairly like more real life, like more real world, like you said. So those choices come a little bit easier because you're not making like weird highs and extremes and lows with your choices. It's a little bit more like undercut, kind of downplayed. And so as far as like making choices, that one wasn't as difficult, but it was still like a part of me finding my voice as an actor and as a voice actor and like figuring out how I just did the thing. Um, but yeah, no, that was a good one. Good on you. That was a fun one. I had fun. I'll say that all of them were fun. I loved all of them.
I bring this one up because this is a really special show. Before it got its dub announced, when Sentai acquired it, the trailer dropped, and just based on the trailer, you had a sense of that's what I'm looking for. I guess a sense of familiarity.
Mhm.
You had a sense that this is going to be one of those shows where it's going to be emotional, relatable, as well as a story that was going to take you in different directions. And this show is amazing just because it is focused on adolescence
Mhm.
and youth, high school life. And when I got to speak to your fellow cast member, Kakegurui, I you know, this show, what I got from it is this show is almost a lesson that even though you're young, you're in high school, you may not know what's going to happen in the future. You may not know where you're going to go after high school, whether you're going to be in college, you're going to be working, maybe might end up getting married, or maybe being in a long-term relationship with someone. It's okay to not know. You're still growing as a young adult, and you still have time to figure out what you're going to do tomorrow and so forth. And I think that's one of the aspects that just because try to explore, try to relate to its audience. I think they did in a very realistic, in a very well-paced manner, which it's sometimes really hard to find shows like that when they
Mhm.
take their time, they try to be patient with where they're gonna take us in its story. So I think that's one of the reasons why, just because what's a beautiful show in that regard.
Mhm. Definitely. I remember always being like calm and just comforted by the way it's funny because like I come from doing stuff with film and stuff, and it's not like the shot setup, it's not real world, it's all illustrations, but it's like the way it was set, the way the shots were illustrated, um, really beautiful and calming, a lot of very subtle colors, which I think with like the subtlety of the message and the writing of the script, um, the cast was really it was a really well cast show. Um, and yeah, it was kind of just like you're gonna graduate and you're gonna be grown up, but that doesn't mean anything. It's okay. And that, I think that goes with the whole theme of the show is just kind of like there were some dramatic things that happened. There was conflict. It did like stuff did happen, but it also felt like slow and like it was okay. It took its time. That was a good one too.
Yeah, and it's a show that a lot of, I want to say more like younger people can relate to, but
Mhm.
even people in their mid late 20s or even early 20s can kind of remember their own youth just by watching the show,
Yep.
especially when it comes to high school life, whether it be being part of clubs, whether it be taking super hard tests to get into a good college.
Mhm.
It's so many things just that people can pick out, even the romantic aspect where, do they want, can they be with this person, long term, or at least making the first step to get the first ground started. So
Yep.
I think it, just by all those elements together, it was something that almost, again, relatable, or a bit of a reflection to
Mhm.
its audience members, that they can see themselves in any of these characters. So again, another reason why I think the show was beautifully done, and why the show was great for the way it told these stories.
Yeah, definitely. Well said.
Yeah, so again, another show I highly recommend for people to check out if they haven't
Yep.
already. Again, it's just beautiful. And again, same thing with the animation, its storytelling, and again, nothing too crazy with its romance aspect, because it does have it, but it's really subtle and
Mhm.
done again in a more realistic light. So yeah, I highly recommend anyone watching this interview to go and check it out if they haven't done already.
Yep.
All right, and we're not quite done yet in the high school genre. Now we're gonna go to the one that everyone knows you from. This show we've been waiting to get to. It is my teen romantic comedy, SNAFU. What was up in that one?
Oh my gosh. Um, it's like, uh, I remember when I was first cast in the show and I came in for the first recording. Um, and again, like I do my research. I watched the whole thing. I knew where the show was going. I knew how much people liked it, which was incredibly intimidating. I knew this was like a long time coming. People were waiting to get the dub for the show, and they were also waiting to get season 3. And so it was just one of those, like, there was a lot of pressure, mostly from myself. Mostly like, the directors are never like, eh, that's this big thing. They're just like, come in, do the show, use your talent, do the voice acting. It's never from anyone but myself whenever I like feel pressure. But just from like what little research I was able to do, and I could tell how much the show meant to people, um, before I even got in the recording studio. Like I was a little intimidated, um, but again, like, always watch the show before you do it. I really enjoyed the show. It was one of those that was like goofy and weird and awkward and reminded me so much of like how I felt. Even like I definitely like felt a lot of hiki. Like I know people are like, oh well, you kind of vibe with whoever, but like I kind of was a hiki when I was in high school. And so like watching it and hearing him have these takes, um it was hilarious. And so I was a little intimidated, but I was also like really excited, and like there was some trepidation, but it was just a new chapter. This was the next like big thing for me. And I just went in every day like with the goal to like make something happy, to make something that would bring happiness to people, and try my best to like just have fun with it myself. And if people can hear that I'm smiling, when my character's supposed to be smiling, then hopefully hopefully that comes across, and hopefully people enjoy it, and hopefully I can make somebody smile or laugh or feel sympathy. And that's a show that like just goes all over the place, and sometimes they do things that they shouldn't do, and you shouldn't necessarily feel bad for them, but it's like, oh, I can't help it. Like, I don't know. And like Yui, she holds a place in my heart. She's everyone's girl, but oh, I love Yui so much. And it's weird because like, I don't know, I think maybe I appear as like a fairly bubbly, bright person, but I'm a little bit of an introvert. I'm a little bit of like a shy girl. And so it was cool to like push myself to be like as bubbly as Yui is, but then whenever she has those more subtle moments, those more like very vulnerable moments, um, it was not hard to connect to her on that at all. Um, it made a lot of sense. So the show was just all over the place. And it's still like kind of riding the wave of like people are always asking about it, and it's just
This show hit hit different spots, it hit different moments, which I think is why it was special. And again, going back to how relatable a show can be to its audience, you had all these different high school characters, different cliques, different personalities, people that the audience can really see themselves as, or they know people who are just like these characters. And I think just, again, going back to the adolescence mindset, how they approach things, how they think about things, and just hearing them talk about it was a kind of a kind of something that people got drawn into, on just how when these characters spoke about really serious topics and you got to see how they play out, it was like a bit of a shock factor in
mhm,
times, just seeing how, you know, the main male character, how he would dissect things, how he would like break things down in his own words, and then you'd be like, okay, I can see where he's coming from, or okay, that makes sense. And then of course, you know, your character and uh the other character, I keep forgetting her name, uh just seeing the
Yuki.
Yukinan, just seeing how these girls kind of will either question it or they would try and like watch from the sidelines how things would transpire. And
Mhm,
I think that also what made things even more tense at times, just seeing like how far the main character would push things or put things in motion to either
mhm.
prove points or to, in a way, almost experiment on what he's talking about. And
Yeah,
I
he
think,
would push buttons a lot. And like that's how you could tell that they're, I mean, so much about the show you could tell from the animation to the writing to the plots. Like I think that was a way you could tell that their relationship evolved, everything evolved. The whole show evolves. Like you can see the animation changes between season 1 and season 3, the plots change, the characters change, and like you said, Hiki will expostulate these wild theories he has sometimes, and a lot of times it makes sense, and sometimes it's like, okay, that's a little harsh. But like you can tell their relationship evolves because like Yui and Yuki would watch for the first chunk of time, but you could tell that they become really close and really intimate as friends because eventually they'd start calling him out on it. And like Yuki, I think always called him out on it, but Yui eventually, like the more she started to realize how important the both of them were, the more they started to confront each other and challenge each other. And then Hiki was suddenly challenged, and he had other voices in his head other than just his own. He had to listen to these two silly girls, and um, I mean, Yui was silly. Yuki is much more serious, but yeah, no, I think it was one of my favorite parts was being able to be a part of a series that had some of that longevity and changed so much. Um, that's something I've never really experienced before. If I've been in a series that has multiple seasons, like it's usually pretty consistent, but this one had the most tangible change. And that was like a really cool thing to experience.
Yeah, like you can tell there was a kind of like a build up. Like the
Mhm.
more they're around each other, the more they kind of establish these bonds with each other. Like to the point where they were almost inseparable at times. And again, just going back to the romance elements, you can kind of like feel like there was some feelings that are being developed for Hiki between the two girls. Like it was very subtle, where
Mhm.
both its storytelling and how the girls realistically would keep it as low key as possible, because it is not something that they can just come forward with. No, it's something that they either had to build themselves to that point if they wanted to go even further with the relationship with Hiki from the friend group into something else, or as Hiki would say, he wants something more genuine. So I
Mhm.
think when season 3 rolled in, that was something that's really kind of had the audience really like on their toes.
Yeah, the whole time, even because like I think I was watching. I didn't really get as much like when I recorded season one and season two, both of the Japanese, the subs were already out. And so I was able to watch those. But when I was doing season three, like I was biting my nails. Like I had only really been able to watch one episode ahead at a time. And so I was like, what is gonna happen? uh but yeah, it like what was I gonna say? I started to get excited and then I jumped ahead of my words. It keeps you on your toes and like it shows you how some shows will drag a romance along it just to keep you coming back, and that gets annoying in a way. It's like, okay, you I don't necessarily need them to get together, but like do it in a way that's like interesting. And like SNAFU dragged those relationships out for 3 years, like 3 seasons, several years, on our end. And like they did it in a way that wasn't like I wasn't necessarily frustrated. Like I wasn't like, just get together, because I didn't know who I wanted to actually get together yet. They just throw so many different roadblocks in and things that like I was just intrigued by it the whole time. And also like you could tell whenever if Hiki got together with someone, if that romantic relationship happened, that would kind of be the end of the show. And I just wanted to watch the show. I didn't necessarily want him to be with someone. I knew that the show was the relationship with the club group, and that was more important to me in a way than just like somebody getting with someone, which was also cool.
Yeah, and I believe because all three characters had like some small flaws in them, they were not perfect in the way of thinking or just how they were. Like there were some quirks in not just the three of them, but like almost every character in the show. There was
Hmm.
just something that was lacking that they either had to work on or someone had to kind of like point out and address it to them. And I think that's what made that very subtle romance element even more interesting, just because either they couldn't really express it in a, I guess, traditional way or traditional form. So they still had to kind of like they had to get over that hurdle
Yeah.
in the best of their ability, even though it might have been awkward for them, might have been
Hmm.
awkward for others to see, just
Hmm.
trying to get through A to B from B to C. I think that what made the audience really feel for them, because
Hmm.
there was that awkwardness, that kind of lack of initiative just to express themselves, express like what do they want, how far do they want their relationship to go, and where they want to be at.
Hmm. Yeah. Definitely. There was a lot, and everyone has every single person has a completely different opinion about how that show should have gone, which is also really cool because I personally love where it ended up. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it was a good natural occurrence of how the show would sequence. But I also know a lot of people who are like, ah, team blah blah blah, team blah blah blah, and then someone in the back is like, well, I think team blah blah blah. So it's just again not in the way that like Danmachi literally has so many different worlds and things to explore and different like characters that are literally fantastical. But there's just so many options that people wanted for SNAFU, and they chose one, and you kind of had to live with it.
I think just for storytelling in general, whether it be in theater, whether it be in novels, films, animes, video games, whatever it might be, it's best to have a solid conclusion rather than just trying to keep adding chapters when the story itself starts to lose its substance. So I think it's really important for any creator or any writer out there to understand that, okay, at least have an ending point where you know where you want to take your story. And I think SNAFU did the right thing, ending where it's at.
Yeah.
Like you said, that made more sense. That would be something that the audience could really still appreciate. And yes, you can still make your own alternative endings, if you think of it in your head. But I think the way it ended, I think was the right call.
Completely agree. Don't drag the fans out too much.
Yeah, no, certainly don't drag the fans too long. So yeah, very good show, and yeah. So here's another one that you and many other Houston actresses got to be part of. A very beautiful musical anime, and this one is Bang Dream. Who else like looking at that one?
That was a fun one. It was definitely like a character that didn't come as naturally to me. It was something I had to put on a little bit. Like I actually don't know. I think I know about my voice and who I sound like, but I don't know. But for me personally, when I was doing Mochi, it was just kind of like calm down, think about eating a lot, and how does that sound? Um, and that one was kind of nice because it wasn't a lot of like monologuing. It wasn't like my character didn't set up a lot of exposition, so I didn't have to worry about making sense because I didn't talk too much. But I had these fun little like lines that I got to throw in every once in a while. A lot of comedic effect for the most part. Or like adding to the crowd or something, and like I had a lot of fun with that one because it was a little bit more low pressure for me, a little bit more low stakes, but it was a really like goofy, cool little show to be in. And like who doesn't love like an anime that's centered around a rock group or a musical group or that kind of weird like it can still be a high school show, but it's got a quirk to it. It's got some sort of twist. It's either a magical high school or they all are secretly robots high school or something like that. And this one happened to be like a musical twist to it. And yeah, I had fun. That one was like a good kind of like again, none of them are easy, but it was a little bit less pressure for me because I just got to go in and like a lot of the amazing cast had already done most of the work. I just got to like throw in a few funny little lines here and there.
This show was a big surprise. The fact that it got an anime adaptation, it
Mhm,
people who are big fans of Bang Dream know it because of its video game form, where you
mhm.
get to play the music on your phone.
Yeah.
So I think it's just amazing that after so many years, like the concept of having an English dub either was not thought about until the anime came out. Like, okay, we actually can hear what these girls would sound like in English. And
Yeah.
and even though this is only the second season that got dubbed, first and third and movies have not been dubbed, which again,
Mhm.
kind of weird
It's
when you think about it.
weird. Yeah.
But I think it's amazing just hearing these girls in English form, and
Hmm.
then for you and all the other Houston actresses, getting to experience the the musical ingenuity behind Bang Dream, because
Hmm.
well, it's like a group of five girls of each band getting to have their own style, their own colors, their own taste of music, their own identity in that music. Like
Hmm.
when I heard music like this is amazing. Uh,
Yeah.
Roselia, I lean more towards them because they got that more darker tone.
Yeah.
They got more of that kind of like more of a heavier beat, more of
Yeah.
a they're more in that rock, harder rock genre than the other girls.
Hmm.
So I appreciate its music. I appreciate the direction of where they want to take music at.
Yeah.
And of course, the characters, all of them are all different. Got
Hmm.
so many girls in the show, but again, there's something different about them, either the way they talk,
Yeah.
the way they think about music, the way they want to showcase their music. They're all
Hmm.
different from each other, which makes the show special. Just seeing all these girls, again, they same goal is they want to be heard. They want their audience to enjoy the music. And I
Yeah.
think it's a very simple concept, just knowing that.
Hmm. Definitely. Yep. That one, I don't have a whole lot to say about that one because it is like I don't ask the questions about licensing and who decides when to do what. So it definitely had that feel of like this is a weird out of context like second season feel to it. So I don't ask a whole lot of questions. I just get to go in and get paid and like have a lot of fun doing these voices. um but yeah, no, that one was like, and I always get I sometimes I forget that I did it because it was such a small kind of one-off situation for me. But I still have a lot of people who will like do fan art or send me something like, oh, I really enjoyed you in this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot about that one. Like that one was such a random one to do.
Yeah, it's special just of a caliber that Bang Dream is at, how it's been
Mhm.
followed by the fans and the company behind Bang Dream, uh Bushi Road, the way they have kind of elevated its title, the direction it's taken over the last few years.
Mhm.
I would really love to see all the seasons be dubbed. Personally, just as a fan,
Yeah.
I like to see how far they would go. Maybe we might get season 4 down the pipelines.
Mhm.
But again, there's just so much to explore. Just seeing these girls perform, because again, cute girls, in high school, all they want to do is give everyone the best music that they can
Mhm.
muster up in their abilities, whether it be playing the guitar, whether it be playing the keyboard, singing, dancing, whatever it might be. There's appreciation to have on
Yep.
the girls of Bane Dream, what they aspire to be, and where they want to take their love for music. So it's just amazing just seeing that focus on a show like
Yep.
this.
Definitely. Like solid concept as well as like there's a million high school anime, but like it's a good model. It's a good, everybody likes to think about either how cringy it was back then or you're in the middle of it, you're in high school and you're dealing with it, or maybe you wish it hadn't been however it was. Like it's just really great to imagine like I didn't go to a rock band high school where everybody was in a band and we all had this big competition and like this was the norm. Like that wasn't my case, but maybe it was for others. But I think it's like a solid concept as far as anime goes. And some people kind of scoff their nose like, and high school, whatever, high school anime. I'm like, I love it. I love it. There's so many options. And like high school is just this time of awkwardness and there's so much potential and like nothing is decided, even if you have a romance. Like it's not, it's all this like, I don't know. That was a weird high school anime tangent, but Bang Dream like falls into that. It's just like, of course, why not explore this world where all of the high school girls are in bands and they love it. They're passionate about it.
And it was different. We gotta say
Mhm.
it was different just for what it was.
Yep.
So yeah, great show. And again, fingers crossed for English dubs. I'm hoping that that will get that will get worked on sometime soon.
Mhm.
All right, so here's another crazy high school show we can talk about, and this one is Kakegurui. What was it
Ah,
looking that one?
oh my gosh. I so I love that one. That one, again, like a lot of these that we're talking about were different characters for me at different points in my life, but that one was like really fun because I've never really gotten to play like the offbeat characters who are a little crazy. I'm usually like I'm either goofy, I'm a lot of redheads. Um, but for this one, like I it was really fun. I don't know if you ever like play with acting and like playing different characters, but like something about playing an evil mastermind is really fun. It's also fun to play that character when that's not someone people say you are or see you as usually. Like I'm usually kind of like, oh cat, you're so cute, whatever. So it was really fun to play this character who had a lot of like weight as far as like her kind of internal power goes. Like she's very strong on the inside, even though she's a little unhinged. God, that was just a fun show. It would get a little like a little spooky, a little weird. But I love that. Like I love that kind of stuff. I love it. And so it was really cool to do this, like, again, it comes off as, like, this typical high school show. Well, typical in that it's a high school anime, atypical in that they all gamble. It's a high school show with a twist, and that's the quirk is that they all gamble. It's a gambling high school. Um, and, like, it was really cool to do. It was interesting because it was a redub, and, like, I know a lot of people had their opinions about that, and, like, when I look at clips and, like, when I watched the original dub oh, Evie, and I watched parts of the Japanese, like, it just felt different, like, it didn't I personally didn't think one was better than the other, it felt like they were different, and I was just really thankful that I got to be in one, and I got to be one of the 3 versions of this character that exists out there for people to make up their own minds about. But oh, that one, it's a weird show. I love the opening credits. I love that song. I love the visuals. I love the illustrations of the opening credits. Like that is probably one of my favorite opening credits I've ever had a show on for a show. Um, yeah, it's one of those shows where you watch it and I'm like, oh my God, what's gonna happen next? Anything could happen. It's a fun one.
I love the show. Just for the thing you mentioned, it's a gambling school, bunch of rich high schoolers have enough money to blow it off on just games and betting.
Hmm.
I just love all the characters. Like when we talk about personalities, when we talk about motives, they all just take it to past 10, like past 11, just by their facial expressions. Like I have never seen an anime that has given all the female characters some of the most funniest faces ever, and
Yeah.
some and you can farm their faces for memes just by
Uh-huh. Yes, they're memes. Oh, and like such high stakes. Like that show is such if you think it's not going to get any weirder or someone's not going to do something out of the ballpark, like they do it and you're not expecting it because you're like, are they gonna? They're not. Surely they're not gonna do that. And then they do it, and you're like, I'm glad they did it. It's good. It kind of feeds into the weird side, I guess, of like I like things to be a little dark, a little twisted. And if you're into that, then any of the three versions of Kakegurui, I think you would enjoy.
Yeah, it's again just the way the story takes us from all these different characters, their own games they play, the
Mhm.
way they kind of see betting, what the goals is in winning. And it's just amazing just seeing how different they are from each other. And again, going back to the girls, like again, their faces, the way they try to manipulate each other, lie. Like one moment they have like the cutest, prettiest face where they're trying to be
Mhm.
nice and all, and then 2 seconds later, it can be the most devilish face you can
Yep.
ever see because they're scheming so hard that they think they're about to win in the next round. But then sometimes the tables gets turned, or sometimes they find out they got the losing hand. So
Mhm.
it's just amazing, just the direction it takes, and I'm really hoping we get more Kakegurui. Hopefully, get like a season 3 or
Me too.
yes, it's just they have not concluded, the main character
Yep.
against the present. We sue that's the main event. Who's going
Mhm.
to stand on top? Who's going to fall? Like
Yep.
you basically have a Godzilla versus King Kong kind of concept going between those two. Like
Yep.
it's gonna be intense when we find out who's gonna go home with everything with all the
Yep.
money. So
Mhm.
so much build up to that.
Definitely. And it's one of those shows that like you talk about they go from like the sweetest, prettiest face to like this like meme face. Um Usually, and you probably are aware of this whenever you have like a show and you have the character who's talking in real life and then they have the internal voice that like it's usually very soft and introspective and like wow, I wonder what he's really thinking on the inside. But this is one of the only shows where the girls kind of speak like that already, and then their internal voice is like, "Oh my gosh, what did I just do?" And like usually the internal voice is soft, but in this one it's almost always the opposite. The internal voice is always like devastated and at wit's end and feels like they're at like their last leg stand that they're standing on. It's always, and that's a really cool one to play because it's just different from what you're used to. It's all you're always at a 10. You may be playing your character might be like, "Oh, everything is fine," but then their internal voice comes on and they're at a 10. It's cool. I like how they mess with like what you think is supposed to happen.
Yeah, it's as mentioned, just fun that weird category based on the faces, just based on how lucrative the games are. Like you hear the rules, you're like, okay, now that's complicated. That's bonkers. Like how's someone supposed to play this game without losing in the next
Yeah.
2 minutes? Like that's how extreme they take it with everything, just for money. And then
Mhm.
the losing side, like making them, dogs or kittens, like basically
Mhm.
slaves. It's like wow, like you can
This
tell
is
they
high
just
school.
yeah, they throw morals right out the window when someone
Yeah.
calls that though. And you'd be like, wow, like like it's just like the ugly side of human nature just
Mhm.
culminated together in this school itself. So
Yeah.
and it's charming in its way. It's horrific, but
Uh-huh.
it's beautiful to watch just unfold in front of your eyes because
Yeah.
it's that type of show.
Yep. Yep. I agree. I think it's one. I think if you're into kind of weird stuff, if you're into like it's kind of like how there's the basketball or the volleyball games or the weird like sports. I mean, I say weird because I think are weird, but like the shows that focus a lot on a very specific topic, like a sport or not as much with like Bang Dream where they were focusing on the competition and everything. Like I think that one's different, but this one like they do focus a lot on the card games and on the games that they play when they're gambling. And it was kind of cool to like learn a lot weirdly about different games that you can play that I've never played before. I don't gamble. Um, I'm sure somebody who actually gambles might get on and watch and say, well, actually, this is how you do it. But it was cool because it's like, yeah, it's got all of these weird twists and turns, but around it, there's like this really structural foundation to it where they do play games and they do talk about the games and have a lot of rules and expositions, and they talk about why they played a certain way. Um, so if you like the shows that have that kind of structure where they lead you through different games and different tactics, but there's also a lot of like loose ends going all over the place and a lot of wild cards, you might be interested in this one.
I'm happy that Sentai got it, put it on physical
Mhm.
home release. I personally, I do wish they put it as a limited edition as well, but
Yeah.
maybe they might get around to in the future. I think it'd be a great limited box set if they had like a chipboard. I wish they would have done that. It'd been
Did
great.
they why didn't they ask you?
I
That would be really great for marketing. I think that would be awesome.
be great, too bad I don't work for Sentai. I don't work for
Yeah.
any I don't work for any DVD manufacturer because I would have
Uh-huh.
ideas. Like, can you
Yeah.
imagine? I can imagine a chipboard of Kakegurui, maybe like chip cards or maybe like poker cards inside of
Mhm.
it, but maybe have the characters as as the kings, queens, or whatever
Yeah.
with numbers.
Oh, that would be so cool. Oh, that would be awesome. That's perfect. Because you have all of there's so many different characters. You have like you can have the red suits and the black suits, and they can be like the two different sides of the, yeah, oh, you gotta write some letters or something.
that that was just me on the spot. Like, what took me
Just
like 2 seconds.
on the fly.
Yeah, there's so
It's
many directions. But chipboard, you want to make sure that when you knock on the chipboard, you can hear that beautiful wooden sound,
Mhm.
just to make
Yeah,
it a good collector's edition.
that would be, yeah, that would be collector's edition. You can have the limited edition and then you have the collector's edition.
Yes, just great show, and yes, I'm still open for more. I hope. I really
Me too.
hope.
That's all I don't know. I nobody tells me anything. I'm like, please hire me again. Keep it coming. I enjoy this. So
All right, so kind of wrapping things up with these shows. Here's one to kind of help wrap things up. This show has got to be put on Toonami slash Adult Swim, and this show is Shenmue the animation. What was I working on that title?
I it was that was an unexpected one for me. I wasn't expecting to get called in, and like it was, for me, it, like the character itself and a lot of the plot and a lot of, it's a good basic anime. Like there's nothing that's too like wild about it other than like this kind of like sacredness that people have around it. It is like, it's Shenmue. It's this game that everyone played and they've been waiting for this animation to come out. I had no idea, like I'd never seen the animation. It was just kind of me. I wasn't really aware of the game before. I'd done like what little research I could, and Nozomi didn't have a huge part. They kind of fleshed her out a little bit more. Um, for the series, and like that was really cool. So I kind of like got to see this character firsthand coming to life. And the character itself wasn't too out of, like, she wasn't this little blue dragon girl, she wasn't this like Kakegurui gamble girl. It was just like a fairly straightforward kind of romantic interest, sweet girl who cares a lot, but maybe like April O'Neil fashion gets caught up and like we'll see what happens. I don't know. You know the plot of the video game, but I won't say what happens because we haven't finished releasing it on Middle School yet. But it's just it was a really fun one to do because it was kind of a classic. It just felt like a classic anime. Elements of it reminded me of um, the old school Ninja Turtle series, which was really fun because like it kind of had that old school animation to it. The script felt a little bit old school, which was just a nice kind of nod to this, like the video game itself, which I really appreciated. Um, I don't know, like who doesn't like to play? I don't know. It was fun to just play the small romantic character for a moment who we'll see what happens. But that one was really fulfilling to do. I enjoyed it a lot.
This was another prime example of a surprise where the the title, the franchise in itself, Shenmue, people know it from the video game since what, the first one in the late 90s, then
Hmm.
the second one in the early 2000s. And then finally, the third game came out around what, 2018, 2019, not too long ago.
Hmm.
And then the animation, which was surprising because the creator and fans that knew about the creator knew he was trying to get the third game out and then have enough time to squeeze out an animation adaptation. A big wow in itself, just
Yeah.
knowing that. And I think the other their surprise was having Sentai provide the dub for it,
Hmm.
because the video game was dubbed in California. I've got to interview people that were in the third game that have
Huh.
worked on it. And then just again, now we're getting to have you, and I'm pretty sure I'll have other Houston actors that were in the anime form. Just shocking itself because it's still going strong to this day. What, 30 years since the
Hmm.
first game? So much love, so much support for Shenmue, and just seeing like how far it's going. It's definitely been a fan favorite in the video game form, and now seeing it getting into the anime side of things, a little extra there of for the fans to get more Shenmue, to get more of a taste. And as you mentioned, it's a great mishmash. It's got modern animation,
Hmm.
but it's still keeping that old school storytelling from the late 90s, early 2000s, just coming together, combining into this kind of this new, fresh version of Shenmue that it's new and old at the same time,
Yeah.
which again, it's sometimes it's hard to pull off because sometimes it can
Yeah.
conflict. So it's great that it can complement each other in that aspect.
Hmm.
So great that it can be put on national television. Great
Hmm.
to see that Shenmue is still doing great after so many years. So we'll probably keep seeing this franchise do more in future, just based on how much love and how much
Hmm.
support is behind it.
It's definitely like that was one of the other ones, like when I went into SNAFU or I went into Danmachi, and it already had this following to it. Um, and so when I went in, I was like, okay, this is something that like a lot of people really care about. And like that's something that I take seriously whenever I voice a character. Like I might not do it perfectly. I might not do it exactly the way whoever on YouTube thinks, or I was trying to think of like a username and I couldn't think of one off the top of my head, but like I might not do it just the way that somebody thinks is the way it's supposed to be, but I do care a lot about like because these are people's shows. Like I care a lot about the shows that I watch, and I care a lot about like the anime that I watch, and having good voices act the parts well is really important. And so that's something that like I take to heart, and I hope that to some extent I can make at least someone happy. And so like going into Shenmue, it was another one of those that like, okay, I know people love this. This is a part of people's lives. Um, and so like I just hope that like whatever little part I play in it, I can do it some justice. And like I've just been excited for the series in general. Like, you know, whatever I do, like I'm proud of the work I did, but I've been excited to watch the reception of the show. Like from what I've been able to see from the reception I've seen on Twitter, and everything, it seems like people are really excited about it. And like it seems that people are really supportive of the show. And that's always like really like it feels good to see that people care about something that like I got to work on, I got to be a part of, but on the bigger scale, like I'm glad that we did a good job and people are happy with it. And I do hope that it can go further because it's just it's a good story. It's good people who are working on it. Hopefully it goes further.
Yeah, just again, Shenmue just keeps living on, and
Hmm.
kudos to the creator behind it for the time that they need to keep producing more work of Shenmue going
Hmm.
this far, and we'll see if we get tons more animations of
Hmm.
Shenmue. No, we'll see how that goes.
We'll
And
see.
and I'll say this for Sentai, if they plan on putting it on physical home release, I am hoping this will get this box set because it's on TV.
Yeah, right. We need a box set for this one. It's gotta have some, and it's gotta have something on it. Maybe it comes out with, I don't know. The main joke for this one is like, what about the forklift? Maybe this one comes with a forklift. That's what you get with your limited box set.
There's so much you can go through just for a good casual edition because I know Sentai has been great about putting animes on box sets if they have been on TV. So I'm hoping because Shenmue is on TV right now, Sugoi, they will consider it. But I can only wish because this one deserves one.
Yeah, I hope so too.
All right, so here's a funny question I would like to ask everyone. If you could be any character you have played in real life, who you be, and you can mix and match.
I can mix and match. Oh gosh. Um, oh, that's a tough one. um, I think I would like to be, I think it would be cool to be like, this sounds silly. I want to be Vine because she's adorable and blue. Um, but I want to live at the school in Mysteria Friends because then she's not being hunted by the other adventurers for being a monster. And uh, I don't. So like, if she lived there and it was cool for her to be a dragon girl, and she got to study school and magic and things and got to really like thrive and be yourself and build strong feminine connections with other dragon girls. Yeah, I think that I would want to be Vine, but at the school and Mysteria Friends. That's not a very in-depth answer to that question, but I want to be the cute little blue girl, and I want to go to a cool magic school.
I think that's a good answer.
Good.
Everyone loves her. Everyone just appreciates how cute she is, how innocent she is, how shy she can be. So she's got that charm in itself because people would like to protect her just because
Yes.
of who she is.
Yes, she's just pure. Everyone wants to protect her. Yep.
So yeah, no, that's a great answer.
Good. Good. I'm glad. I meant it to be that way. But like you do, I don't know, I really enjoyed this interview because you have a really insightful way of like, I love your takes on all of the anime. Everything you've had to say has been like something I've never thought of, or like just really in-depth thought about like these things that we're all passionate about. We all love these shows. So I really enjoyed getting to kind of revisit some of the shows that I've done, but like see them through your eyes and like hear different thoughts and really really thoughtful, in-depth takes on it. So this has been really fun for me to listen to you and hear what you have to say about it. It's been cool.
Yeah, thank you. And for me, it's just I like to analyze my shows, my animes, my video games, or any other TV shows I come across. I just break them down because
Mm,
I guess for us, the audience, creators like to leave some either interpretations or like to leave as though
yeah.
those spaces where the audience can find something to talk about on the characters or the plots or the developments of these shows and the stories
Mm.
being told. So no, I appreciate you, saying that because I always try to have these type of thoughtful insights whenever I interview any voice actor out there. That
Good. That's really nice. Like even I just as like as a general practice too, whenever you're talking to people about like whether you like any of the shows we talked about tonight, like that's just really great practice for interviewing and like talking to people. It's like, yeah, you did your research and that's really awesome. And like, yeah, what you had to say was great. I appreciated it. And I think hopefully we have the two of us, you with your thoughtful insights and me with my giddy rambling, have encouraged some people to watch some of these shows.
yeah, I hope so too. And I appreciate all the kind words you have said. And to kind of conclude our interview, just a few more questions. As of now, as we record this, is there anything coming out that you can't talk about, or is there anything already out there that you want to plug in at this time?
I think one we didn't talk about that's being released um as we speak is Shikizakura, which is a really fun um kind of Power Rangers type show. It's good, I think, for like a lot of ages. Like I'd probably let my nephew watch this one, which is sometimes on anime. You don't let the young kids watch all of them, depending on the show. But this is like a really goofy show that like I enjoyed watching and doing, but also like I could see myself having my nephew watch and like watching and enjoying with him. So that's on High Dive right now. Shenmue again is one that's going on. If you haven't heard of it or haven't caught it, really great. We're releasing, I think actually episode 7 is airing tonight as of like today, right now that this interview is being recorded. So that one's still going on, still going strong. I think those are the ones that I can talk about. I'm not quite sure about some of the other ones. But thank you for asking about plugs.
Yeah, and I think there is one more that people should know about. Season 5 was just announced like last week, so that'll be on home release soon. Hopefully, it will be on Adult Swim as well, and
Mhm.
be on High Dive for streaming service. So one more plug just for anyone that's big Food Wars fan.
Yep.
Season 5 is just around the corner.
Hmm. Yes, yes. Maybe that one, yes.
All right. Last question is: do you have any Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or any other social media for fans to follow you at?
Yes. I'd say Facebook. I don't really do a lot on Facebook. So the biggest ones that you can follow me at is my Twitter, which is an old Twitter name that I need to update, but it's Cat Smudge, I think. Let me double check that. But I think it's we were literally talking on Twitter today. But it's Cat Smudge, CATSMUDGE. Or you can find me at Cat Thomas. I am on Twitter. I'm also on Instagram. That one, excuse me, is that one is like it's a private account, but I still follow and let most everyone follow me on that one. And that one is, I think, the same. I think it's also Cat Smudge. or Catherine Thomas on Instagram. But you are welcome to follow. I will probably follow back. We'll see. I also am really bad at social media, but I try to like as much as I can. But I definitely do both of those.
All right. Well, thank you, Kat, for joining me tonight on this interview. I appreciate talking to you and talking about all these amazing shows you gotta be part of.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Christian. Like, it's been a pleasure to finally talk to you.
Yeah, same here. It was a pleasure just hearing your thoughts and just exploring through all these amazing shows that have come your way, and hopefully
Yeah.
more will be with you sometime this year and next year and so on.
We'll see. That's all I can do is
Definitely. All right. And thank you to our viewers here for tuning in for this episode of the Ohio Guys. Thank you, everyone. And I will be seeing you all in the next interview. Bye, everyone.
bye.